Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna talk about soccer kicking biomechanics. Okay, data correction. So I'm just gonna play this video. So I just recorded the video of somebody or like one of my friends kicking the ball with slow motion. So my smartphone is nothing really special. Smart Galaxy S10 Lite and 240 frames per second. Okay, so data analysis. So what I use for data analysis is called OpenPose. It's an open source from the GitHub, and what it does is you just input the video and OpenPose separate the video into frame by frame and output the joint position, XY position of the joint. So hip, knee, ankle, shoulder, elbow, hand, etc, etc. So this is just a visualization, but like of course you get the data in JSON file if I remember correctly, and I just import the JSON file into MATLAB and analyze the data. Okay, before going to actual data analysis, let me explain what's kicking in general. So what's gonna happen when you kick the ball. So usually when you kick the ball with right leg, you leave the ground with right leg like this. It's called a toe off or foot off or whatever it's called. And what's gonna happen afterward is maximum hip extension, which means that you extend the hip maximally. So it's defined as this angle here. So you open your leg from your body, which is in this line here. You opened the hip backward like this. So this is a maximum angle of the hip extension. Then the phase between toe off and maximum hip extension is called backswing. So literally you swing backwards. So really easy to remember. Then at the same time or somewhere around the maximum hip extension, what's gonna happen is rounding. So you leave the ground with right leg and you round on the ground with left leg like this in the supporting leg. Then in the kicking leg, what's gonna happen after maximum hip extension is maximum knee flexion. So the knee angle is defined in this angle here. You get probably confused because mathematically knee angle is here, but in biomechanics people usually use this angle in red here. So basically when you flex your knee, you actually increase the angle. So after the maximum knee extension, which means that you probably a little bit swing the leg forward, but the knee is still flexing, so kind of backward a little bit. It's so interesting, isn't it? So the phase is called a leg cocking. Then let's look at supporting leg. So what's gonna happen after rounding? So you flex your knee. Why? Because you actually running towards ball, and as soon as you had a landing on the ground, you are moving forward. Then you round, then ground reaction force going towards you, and somehow you have to absorb this shock. Then you have to flex your knee and actually hip as well. then your body is stable. Otherwise, your body is unstable, then you probably miss the kick. It's the most important part of the kick is the ball impact here. So anyway, you absorb the shock after landing. Then in the swing leg or kicking leg, what's gonna happen after maximum knee flexion is it's just going forward. So going forward towards the ball, until the ball impact, and the phase is just called leg acceleration. You accelerate the leg and hit the ball. So as you can already imagine, if you get more time in this phase, you have more potentials to accelerate your leg. And if you can accelerate more and more, you have more potential to hit the ball harder and harder. So that's one of the performance indicators which a lot of researchers use to evaluate the kicking performance, powerful kicking performance. But at this point, there is actually another performance indicator which is the point of ball impact. Of course, you miss the point of the ball impact, ball goes like everywhere, and you probably miss the potential to maximize the ball speed. But in this presentation, I'm just gonna ignore the parameter because it's really complicated to analyze in this way. So I'm only gonna explain just before what's gonna happen before the ball impacts, basically. Then let's look at supporting leg. So you flex the knee for the shock absorption, and what's gonna happen after is you extend the knee to transfer the mechanical energy from supporting leg to swing leg. So it's so interesting because this event is actually across the leg acceleration, and while you are absorbing the shock, it actually negatively influences the acceleration of the leg in the swing leg. But in the second half, there is a positive effect on the acceleration of the leg, which is energy transfer. So you will see in the next slide how the data looks like in terms of shock absorption and the energy transfer, and actually the velocity of the leg changes quite a lot. But in general, that's how the kicking works. Okay, so result and interpretation. So like I said, OpenPose can output XY position of each joint in JSON file, and I just imported the file into MATLAB and analyze the data, basically just calculating the angle of the joint and angular velocity of the joint, and just plot it over time. And as you can see the plot on the right side, I separated the data into kicking leg and the supporting leg, and as I mentioned in the previous slide, the so the red line here is the hip angle and blue line is the knee angle, and this vertical line here is the time point of landing. And you can already see x-axis is time in second and y-axis angle in degree. Here the hip extension happens before the knee flexion, as I explained in the previous slide. And the hip angle is a little bit confusing at this moment. So the anything positive means that, let's say there is a body here, and there's a thigh and shank and foot here. So you kick there's a ball here, let's say here. So anything positive means that hip is located posteriorly respect to the body line here. So you can imagine like you swing your leg backward, and this is a maximum point like I said in the previous slide, and it goes to the negative value here, which means that the leg is now located anteriorly respect to the line of the body. So like this. So moving forward like this. So this is the point. You extend the hip maximally. So like you do the backswing like this, and you bring the hip forward, and the value goes to the negative. Okay, and for the knee, I think it's very clear. So knee flexion is here, and knee extension happens towards the ball like this. Like you swing the leg, and at the moment here knee is flexed, but you extend the knee like this, and the ball impact happens at this moment here. Okay, so what's interesting in the supporting leg here is, I'm just gonna ignore like what happened before the landing, but after the landing, what's gonna happen for the knee? It's clear knee flexion here, right? And for clear visualization, I flip the sign of the hip angle, which means that now the positive angle means that the thigh is located in front of the body respect to the body line here. The thigh is, so I'm just gonna delete, I deleted everything, but I'm just gonna rewrite here the body, thigh, and shank here. Okay, so this is a supporting leg, right? So the thigh is located in front of the body. Yes, so positive means that the thigh is located in front of the body now, respect to this body line. Okay, and increasing the angle means that you are actually flexing the hip. So you're like flexing here. So in this way. Okay? So as you can imagine, like you're flexing the knee at the same time as well, because knee flexion happens here and hip flexion happens here. So as I already explained in the previous slide, this is shock absorption. Okay? And after shock absorption, what's going to happen is knee extension and hip extension here. So like I explained, this is a phase for energy transfer. So the mechanical energy is transferred from supporting leg to kicking leg. Okay? And this phenomenon is clearly observable when you plot the knee angular velocity over time. So this is another plot for the kicking leg. X-axis is the same with time in second, and y-axis is now angular velocity in degree per second. And anything positive value means that the knee angular velocity in the flexion. So this is the thigh, okay, this is the knee, and this is the foot, okay. Then anything positive means that angular velocity towards the flexion, okay. And anything negative value here means that angular velocity for knee extension. So let's say the body is here. Oops, and there is a ball here, let's say. Okay. So it's just two separate motions, and I separated in positive value and negative value. Okay, so nothing really complicated. So as you can imagine already, so the knee angular velocity is maximal here, and it decelerates up to the point of the zero. So zero here is the turning point from knee flexion to the end of knee flexion and the start of the knee flexion. So the point at zero is actually the point of maximum knee flexion here. Okay, then it goes to negative, which means that the leg or like a shank is moving forward actually. So from at the point of the zero here, so like the shank is moving forward and accelerated forward a little bit at this moment here, but it goes to deceleration here. So interesting, isn't it? So like as I said, like you swing forward faster, then you kick with more power, but there's a negative influence. What happens here, right? So what happens here is shock absorption, right? Which you have to do to stabilize your body, right? Otherwise, like your body is unstable and you miss a ball even, right? So that's why, like in previous slide, it said that shock absorption negatively influences the swing leg acceleration. But then what happened afterwards is really sharp acceleration here. Why? Because you extend the knee and hip to transport mechanical energy from the supporting leg to kicking leg. And this slope is even sharper than the one before shock absorption. Okay, so that's something you can analyze the data by yourself actually, and maybe in next YouTube video I will show you how to use the OpenPose. I mean, it's open source and it's free, and then I'm gonna show you how to analyze the data from OpenPose output with MATLAB probably. But you can try it with Python, for example. I think it's possible, and Python is free. But if you're a student and if you have like a student license for MATLAB, like you can use the MATLAB for free. Anyway, so yep, so that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening and see you next time.